for criminal investigations. And now when I look around, I feel like we're building the infrastructure to do that same thing. Now you might be thinking at this point, like, okay, well, stop for a second. At the end of the day, they can't force me to wear anything, right? I mean, this is still America after all. I don't have to wear a watch. I don't have to wear a ring. I don't have to wear anything that they give me. And that is true for now. Here's how it actually ends up working, right? Instead of forcing you, they just make it incredibly expensive to not comply. And what people don't realize is that this is already happening. Major insurance companies like John Hancock now offer policies where your premium is partly based on data from your fitness tracker. No, I wish I was kidding. I promise I wish I was kidding. They call it behavioral underwriting. You get a discount for sharing your data, but what they're really doing is penalizing people who don't want to be monitored 24/7. And believe you me, employers are getting in on this too, because many companies now offer voluntary workplace wellness programs where basically you can get lower health insurance costs if you meet certain fitness goals tracked through wearables. But here's the thing about using the term voluntary, when referring to these programs, because when not participating costs you hundreds of dollars a year, when you're already not getting paid a decent salary and your job is threatened by AI, how voluntary is this voluntary program really? This is economic coercion, plain and simple. You technically have a choice, but one option costs significantly more money. I don't know, the plan seems pretty clear to me. Start with incentives, then gradually make the non-monitored option so expensive that people can't afford it. Eventually, biological monitoring becomes the default, and opting out becomes something only wealthy people can afford. Or if not that, then we're going to go ahead and defund and deregulate all of the other options, like, the Rural Health Transformation Program, and give you so few options that it's either biotech wearables or drive 3 hours to a hospital to get your glucose monitored. So what happens when you have real-time biological data on millions of Americans? Like, when you can track not just where people go, but how their bodies respond to stress, what makes their heart spike, and when they're not sleeping well, what does all of that mean? You can predict a lot of behavior from that information. And not just like what somebody might buy, but how they might vote, whether or not they're likely to quit their job, if they're becoming politically active. This isn't just a science fiction far out scenario. Companies are already using heart variability rates to predict employee turnover. That's when Palantir comes in, and that's the data integration that they're specializing in. And with that level of data and that level of optimization and organization, you're not just looking at healthcare anymore. You're looking at full population control. The ability to influence behavior on a massive scale by predicting and responding to biological patterns before people are even consciously aware of them. Listen, I've been following this biotech wearables beat for quite some time now. For the past 7 months, I've been writing about it extensively and just keeping an eye on how it's all shaping up and how my nemesis, Larry Ellison, almost definitely has everything to do with it. I started this investigation asking whether we're building healthcare technology or surveillance infrastructure. After following the money, seeing all the contracts, looking at the history, looking at what all the other countries are doing, I think the answer is pretty clear. They're not building this to make you healthier. They're not empowering you by giving you full control over your health. They're building this because biological data is the new oil. It's the most valuable resource in the digital economy, and whoever controls it controls the future. And if biological data is the new oil and wearables are the drill, then that just makes you dinosaur bones at this point. That's pretty cool, actually. Look, the companies that are getting these contracts, Oracle, Palantir, they're not healthcare companies. They're surveillance companies. They're CIA, DOD companies through and through. The programs getting funded aren't about medical research or disease prevention. They're about data collection and behavioral monitoring. And they're going to try to convince us that sharing our most intimate biological data is somehow patriotic, healthy, and forward-thinking. Like, I've already heard from multiple influencers with huge followings that they've been approached many a times to promote wearables in a very pro-America way. So the next time you see your favorite creator raving about their new fitness tracker and how empowered it makes them feel, it's worth bearing in mind and asking yourself, is this sponsored content or is it taxpayer-funded propaganda? And look, I can't predict how all of this is going to turn out. I'm not an oracle, right? But I can promise you one thing. Once this data is collected, once these systems are built, the uses will far expand whatever they've promised us. Because when the cost of opting out becomes unaffordable, it was never really a choice in the first place. Remember, once you're inside a system designed to optimize for population control rather than protect individuals, you're no longer a patient. You're a data point, modeled for control, optimized for capital. But the choice is still ours, right now. But the choice is still